This is geared more towards preschool and kindergarten teachers. However, there are hidden gems for those of you who have older students. Can everybody see the slides? Good. All right. Pretty sure I've met you all, but I'm Jackie Ronning. I'm the Early Literacy Coordinator or Early Learning Coordinator here at OPI. Also on the call from OPI are Kimberly Evans. She is the Data Analyst and Coordinator for Early Learning. And Eva Cox is the PDUP System Manager. So she touches every PDU that comes out of this place. And Claire Mikeson is our English Language Arts Coordinator. And I feel like we know most of you. You're our people. So the mission statement of this unit within OPI is to provide high quality, evidence-based, and sustained professional learning that empowers educators and strengthens student outcomes across the state of Montana. So I'm pretty sure you've all heard my spiel. I want to try a different thing because it relates to some of the things we're going to do with writing. You can see that I put 8 symbols here. These tell a story about me. It's up to you to decide what that story is. So if you have something you can write on, fine, or you can just type in the chat. Develop one sentence about me based on these symbols that I have put up for you. Is that clear? Maybe I felt like maybe it wasn't. Eva, you probably knew that. Space travel. And don't be afraid that you could be wrong. We'll move on if we get one more sentence. Real quickly, I'll give you the rundown. I was born in Pennsylvania. I went to Jersey Shore area high school. They are the Bulldogs. I went to Penn State University. I moved to Montana. I finished my undergrad at Montana State Billings. My hometown is Red Lodge, and we are the Rams. I did work for Head Start, and I'm still a supporter of Head Start. I worked at the Robert School, who are the Rockets, for 10 years. And now I work for the state of Montana. So, likes watching Yellow Jackets. Love that. I am a Cats over Grizz fan, but ultimately I'm a Penn State Nittany Lion fan. All right, what will we learn today? The developmental stages of writing. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. We're going to talk about fine motor skill development and its impact on writing. Then the connection between drawing and writing in young children. Printing and handwriting instruction, a small amount, and I'll explain why later. And then we're going to analyze student writing samples to identify their stage of development. So if you do a Google search for the developmental stages of writing, you will get several different versions. They are very similar. They call them some things that are different, but this is basically the two main things that I found. One comes from Cox Campus, the other comes from Reading Rockets. Everything else I found was same enough not to have to mention them separately. And I will share my slides so you don't have to write everything down. But there are 5 stages generally considered as developmental stages of writing. One is, we'll just talk about the Reading Rocket side, okay? Pre-phonemic. Their writing doesn't have anything to do with letters. Early phonemic, they're beginning to have some understanding of letters. Letter strings, I'm sure you've seen kids that are just beginning to capture some letters, and they just write them. Invented transitional spelling is my favorite thing in the world, and I'm really good at figuring out what kids mean to say. Conventional spelling is where we are always trying to get them to. But if a kindergartner is using invented spelling, that is perfectly normal because they haven't learned anything beyond basic sounds. So we'll talk about scribbling, drawing, and pre-phonemic for just a minute. I'll let you read the characteristics of this stage. So remember, drawing is a form of communication. And when kids are using a writing utensil and putting marks on a page, whether it looks like anything to us, it is something to them. How many of you have had a child write or draw or, put a lot of work into something and then they ask you, what does this say? That's pretty normal when they're learning some letters and they're putting them on paper. And we've said we write to communicate lots of information. Um, your answer to that, the best answer in a case like this is, what do you want it to say? Then you can show them on paper what that looks like with words. Down at the bottom of the slides for this section, I just put a tip. We just want to have opportunities for kids to use writing tools safely and appropriately in whatever way they want to do, whether that's drawing, coloring, writing letters, numbers. Yeah, what do you want it to tell me? So letter-like and early phonemic, you see them moving to a better grasp, right? Their fine motor skills are developing a little bit stronger. And the main thing is that they start to move from left to right when creating, whether they're letters or numbers or letter-like symbols. Again, they may write something and ask you what it says. The biggest tip when they get to this stage is that you label their pictures with their own words. When they say, this is my red fox, even if it's a green tree, You write the words they give you. And then consider why they are telling you a green tree is a red fox. Letters and strings of letters. This is it's all my favorite. But you can see in all of the examples here, they don't say anything. They're just writing letters because those are the letters they know how to write. And you can see one of the points here is that this stage they lack sound symbol correspondence. Even if they were trying to write bear, they probably don't have a B or an R. They'll often write the letters in their name. They may go copying things around the room, but usually they're just pick up a piece of paper and write all the letters that they know. This is where a real variety comes in to play. If you have a writing center, does it have envelopes? Does it have magnetic letters and other alphabet manipulatives that they can work with as they create? And I don't know the exact recommendation on this, but to me, this is where you would introduce lined paper. Up until then, they don't have everything they need to write a letter on the line. So then we start to see letters and spaces and invented transitional spelling. This photo right here, if you can see where it is, has anyone deciphered what this child is telling a story about? If you want to type it in, go ahead, or just come off a mute and tell us what you think.
Hermit crabs live in shells. That's what I got.
Yeah, hermit crabs live in shells. Sometimes they lay on the beach. But the one right next to it is about penguins and leopard seals.
I read the one on the lined that says my dog is black. He is fuzzy.
Yes.
I love him. His name is Otis.
Yep. Perfectly normal. Probably a kindergarten, could possibly be early first grade. Up at the top, it says, I found a lamp and a genie came out. I'm sorry I interrupted somebody.
Oh, I was just going to read the top right.
Go ahead.
I'm going to Florida and we might go to the beach and I can swim.
Yep. But especially if this is kindergarten or first grade, they're not going to spell beach, right? They haven't learned EA yet. Let's see.
The bottom one about the penguins says, penguins love to go in the water, but sometimes I get mixed up on that
Leopard seals.
Middle part there. Leopard seals was in the water. The penguin was in the water. They become frantic.
No? They are friends. I think it's friends.
Friends. Okay.
Yep. So when you look at that particular, all of the first and last sounds are there for the words that we think they're trying to say. Right? We wouldn't want to, unless this were a writing assignment where they've gone through the writing process, there's nothing wrong with this. Especially because you always look at it like this. What sounds are there? And the beginning and end sounds are in there for each word. But they'll start to match sounds, mostly the consonants. You can see that they're getting the concept of word, which one group of letters for one word and then a space. They probably can spell some high frequency words, but they write words the way they sound to them. And I know some of you did the learning series last year, and we did talk about writing a little bit. This is the type of writing that you can encourage daily with a question they need to respond to every morning. Even if it's, what color is your favorite? My favorite color is purple. Or if they, and not every kid will be able to do this. Some kids might look at that and be like, no, I can't write. I don't know how to write. But you can move them through that. This is great for journals. As far as journaling for young kids, we're not there to correct their spelling or their English and grammar. We're here to get them to do it and then to move them through the process of improving it. Any questions on this one before we move on?
Yeah, last year I thought we talked about not having the short fat markers. Oh, we were on the other page, sorry.
No, that's
I was
okay.
still on the last page. I don't remember if it was here or if it was a conversation that I had with one of the therapists that come in and work with the kids, because I was having difficulty with the pinching. And they had said to you, or someone told me to use the regular size they're going to use instead of the big ones. So now that's changed again?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I believe, this is not research backed, this is just for 20 years, that if a kid's going to write, they can write with whatever they want to write with.
Okay.
Crayons, in fact, are very good for them to write and draw with because there's a drag effect, and that builds muscle and memory. On the other side of that, there's a lot of talk out there about just making kids learn how to use a regular size pencil. The opposite of that is they say give them the tiniest thing you can find for them to write with, so they have to hold it with a tripod. They still will figure out how not to.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's it, it's whatever you feel is working for your kids. Now, if you have a couple kids that they're really not even, like, they don't seem like they physically can hold it correctly, there's a lot of different things that you can do for them. I've used a rubber band that wraps around your wrist, the pencil, and your thumb. Some kids, that would be very triggering experience for them.
Mhm.
What I would, if you have a handwriting program, see what your program suggests. But I'm just a pencil person, and they make a grip that really just goes on like a sock. You don't have to put your fingers in it. It's just like a leg warmer for a pencil. It
Mhm.
makes it a little bigger, but they can still have something to squeeze. You don't get
Yeah, that
any sensory feedback from holding a pencil, but you would get some sensory feedback with the pencil leg warmer. Is what we used to call
mhm.
it.
Yeah, I use
Um,
that with a couple kids.
yeah. And also, it go with what your OT says. If you have an OT to work with, let them guide you. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Here are more writing samples. I hope I know the one is kind of dark. I was able to identify what grade levels these were within, close range. This is conventional spelling, okay? It's the kids are using content area words like rocket ship and planet and a star planet. My dad is a carpenter. I've been reading that this whole time as creeper. He's not a creeper. He builds houses and uses tools. But how many times has as a child, communicated something and that's what you picked up of it? There's all kinds of things out on the internet that take kids' spelling mistakes, and it's cute, but I think that this Dear Miss Carol, this student just wrote a note to their teacher. If they were supposed to write something that had to do with the ocean, because they've been learning about that, I would correct the spelling of ocean because it's probably somewhere in the room. They've used it. There were opportunities to go out and see. However, ocean's a tough word, and it has advanced phonics in it. So this is pretty good. He got every single sound, just not the way we spell it. Let's see, beach, picnic, Play-Doh. The same goes for like this one right here. Saturn is spelled differently twice. Orange, Pluto. This looks to me like it was an assignment. They've been learning about planets. They were going to write something. I would probably do some correction on something like that. Also, the color orange is spelled out in every classroom, especially early childhood. So you would want to point out to kids who are missing common words that are in their environment where they can find those words. Not on a word wall. And so the big key here is support students with purposeful writing activities or opportunities. These are all had a purpose. They were either an assignment or a child wanted to say something nice to their teacher who was leaving on a vacation. Lucky them, and that kind of thing. And you notice here, increasing an automatic fluency with handwriting. You can see these students have that. There wasn't a lot of erasing. Most of the letters are made correctly. There's capitals and lowercase in the right place, especially in that second grade sample. All right. So those are the stages of writing development. I think it's less important that we all call each stage the same thing, and more important that we understand how to look at students' writing and just decide where they are and how we're going to get them to the next stage. Do you have any questions about the stages at this point? No, you're too interested in the X-ray. So take a moment. What do you notice? What do you wonder about what you see on the screen? There's not too many of us. You can just come off mute.
The bones
had no
get
idea.
closer together as they get older.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all cartilage, not bones structure yet.
Yeah.
This is probably the biggest or the most impactful bit of research or evidence that I've come across for writing and handwriting in a while. 14-year-olds their hand isn't even fully developed. And so that's why they should learn to type, because 14-year-olds with really bad handwriting is tough. But you see, and I know we've said this before, the hand doesn't even fully develop till long after children are expected to be able to master handwriting and then use it for deep writing. And I think it's very important that we keep that in mind. It's not for us to say the kid's not ready or doesn't have the muscle for that. We need to remember we have to have all these opportunities for them to keep building that strength, but to have some grace in what they can produce. Does that seem fair?
You know, I even have like teachers in kindergarten that'll say, I don't know why blah 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 cannot hold or decide what hand to use it. And I'm like, do you know that's developmentally where they're at and that we cannot be forcing them to choose the left or right hand yet? I just put the pencil on the table and let them choose because right now they're still building muscle and they're still building their bone structure in their hand yet. So we should not be forcing a pencil in their hand yet.
Yeah, there comes a point where you have to decide, has the child had enough instruction and opportunity, and it's very individual, that we want to make suggestions that they use one hand or the other. You know, we ask a lot of our preschool and kindergarten and first grade students, and we would like them to pick sooner so they can get moving. But I haven't heard anything but negative from people who were forced to choose before they were ready or forced to change. One important thing is, let's think about this. If you have low fine motor skill, your overall academic performance is going to suffer. Think about every age child, your own children, because everything comes slower. And correct letter and numeral formation is one of the main things that suffers. But remember, it's overall academic performance. Accurate hand and finger movements are highly correlated with how legible a person's handwriting is. That requires strong fine motor skill, hand-eye coordination, all of those things. And when you get a preschool student, you can't be guaranteed that they have had an active first 4 years of their life. And so all of that motor development, midline stuff is going to be underdeveloped if they spent the first 4 years in a less engaging environment, if that makes sense, or if they spent too much time in the car seat as an infant. Pencil grip, it's important because it gives better control and reduces fatigue. How many first graders, even kindergartners, they finish a sentence and it's like they ran a marathon? Hattie, who was age 4 when she said this, is my daughter, but she used to say all the time when she'd be coloring or writing or doing anything, so my hands are tired. And I would just say, oh, take a break. But they really are tired. I don't want to just read these to you guys, but speed and fluency is what we're working towards, right? With reading and with writing. And fine motor just helps support that. There's a lot that goes into speed and fluency for writing besides good pencil grip and that kind of thing, but it's just as important. This is interesting. Well-developed fine motor skills make writing easier and faster because the cognitive load goes to content and not mechanics. And this just takes us back to remembering when we have low fine motor skills, overall academics are impacted. And remember those unwanted behaviors. It can actually hurt to try to move a pencil when you have lower fine motor skill and strength. So here's just a short list of ways that you can prioritize autonomy and play. Ooh, I love that Play-Doh. But what other things can you say? You could just drop it in the chat. What other ways do you use in your classroom for kids to be? You'll
I just
go ahead.
wanted to share one.
Yeah,
So, I get those little tiny cuties
yeah.
and, we peel them because even that is a lot of pincher, 3-finger grasp and,
Mhm.
pulling and peeling on their own. But they also get to put it in a baggie and
Mhm.
I like zip it up for them and, or show them how, because my older ones could do it. And I let them smash the juice. So, or smash
Yeah.
the orange and then we put a straw in it and they have their own little juice box. So
That's fun. I'm coming to your class, Sherry. Hole punches.
We use dot markers, so they'll give them a bunch of colors and they'll just sit there and use the dot markers to make all kinds of designs.
Yep.
I use stickers. Especially at the
That's
beginning
right.
of the year, we do a lot of things with stickers, making
Mm-hmm.
placemats, things like that.
Do you
That's what I was
remember? Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was just gonna say that's what I do too. And we even do sticker books where
Mhm.
I'll fold the paper in half and make a few pages and they peel the stickers and put them in there.
Mhm. One of my social emotional tips was the paper cutting. If you remember that, paper shredding, but just tearing paper calms the child down who needs to have a moment, but also that's fine motor. Cutting, tearing, poking holes with a paper puncher, tweezers in, so if you can get little, the dollar store has like Easter erasers and things like that, and put them in rice, and the kids have to pull the eraser out with a tweezer and put it and sort them out. There's lots of stuff out there that you can make from stuff at home, but of
like
course, go
even
ahead.
for now, I have my kids, tearing up like paper, but we make snowballs out of them.
Ooh,
So the
Mm.
pushing and, crunching and all that stuff, we talk about it, like what shape are we making? And yeah, I mean, the kids love it because I do actually let them and remind them that this is the only time that Miss Daniels will let you throw paper across the and throw it in the garbage can.
um, the elephant in the room is, can we be patient enough for kids to learn to zip and button and snap and do those things? We must be, because just everyday activities like dressing themselves and getting prepared for transitions, that does that naturally, right? Um, but it can take an awfully long time for kids to get themselves dressed, especially when there's zippers and mittens. But it's so important that they are allowed to develop that independence.
Yeah, I usually with mine, I make them try while I'm helping maybe somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I have to see them try and make a good attempt before I will, go through the steps with them. So that kind of gives them opportunities to be doing it while I'm getting other people or helping other people.
Right. And although the one who needs the work is the one who needs help with their zipper, older kids can help with them too, or kids who know how to zip. They can zip each other's coats. I
Yeah, I'll
think my
take an
10-year-old still has a friend tie her gym shoes.
I'll take and get the zipper on and pull it up about an inch and let them finish and move on to the next one.
Yeah. So thinking about fine motor skill development, we had some suggestions on the last slide, but don't forget practicing on vertical surfaces. This can be paper attached to the wall. It can be chalk on the brick wall at recess. However that looks, but that is building their core strength and their large motor skills along with fine motor.
One thing I do also is we go outside and we have this black wall and I take little containers of water and paintbrushes and they have to practice making lines up and down. And then once they do a few of those, and they can paint whatever they want to, but they end up usually just kind of doing stuff up and down. So I
Yeah.
just kind of thought about that. I do that every year, beginning of the year when it's warmer.
That's a great practice. Chalk or whatever is allowable for kids to create with outside. Let them do it. Chalk washes off of brick with the next rain.
We do some horizontal writing in our room too. I'll lay butcher paper out and have them write on the floor, because when you're laying on your tummy and you have to just tummy time, right? Hold yourself up with those shoulders to get that upper body strength also.
We get kids in preschool and kindergarten, we know they didn't have enough tummy time. You can just tell. And gross motor. While building gross motor, you're still putting lots of things together for that all motor development and core strength and crossbody things. I can't do the crab walk, but I do try to get kids to do it. If you don't know what that is, it's just like a bear crawl, but it's upside down. So you're face up.
Jackie, I was going to say a great game is The Ocean is Stormy. I used to play that with my kids all the time when I taught first grade, and they would have to become a crab.
Yeah.
They loved it.
They do. We used to end indoor recess that we would have in the gym with crab crawl to one side of the gym and bear crawl back. And they're really exhausted and ready to go back to class. Just a few notes here. Just know your students' abilities. The answer is not the same for every child in your class. And go ahead.
I had an interesting experience. I got one little guy who's always the last one done on tracing his letters. And I just started working with them on which one do you think is the best? This is the one I think that looks the best. And then we put a sticker on it. And today he was the first one done because they got more stickers yesterday.
Love that. I've done the same, but had child take a highlighter. When you're finished, take a highlighter and highlight the one that you believe is your best. I just wanted to know, this is deep in another line of research, but older children, now I'm saying 6 to 8-year-olds, okay? If they still have really poor fine motor skills, they have to have intervention. You have to talk to your OT. It's already holding them back academically at that age, which just highlights the importance again of us having all of these motor building activities in the lower grades. Okay, so I see we are already going to run out of time. So very quickly, pick up a piece of paper and take out a writing tool. With your non-dominant hand, I'm going to give you a sentence and I want you to copy it down with your non-dominant hand. I tried this earlier. I threw a pencil at the window. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs. You could repeat that, class. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs.
Of course, you have to use a sentence that has all the letters of the alphabet in it.
That's the point. Some of you haven't even gotten to the word brown yet.
Can you say that again, please?
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs.
I was gonna add something to that. So I've been following these pre-K teachers on Facebook, and Tara West did a video, I think, and she has them doing like putting two pieces of like tissue or paper or whatever on the table, one for each hand, and they both like scrunch it up using both like the left and the right.
Yeah.
And so it helps with that, but it also helps with the connection in the middle of the brain, which I'm a big fan of brain gym. So
Yeah.
I'm always looking for things like that.
Whoever's holding theirs up, you did very good.
When I write with both hands. So this activity is fun.
So let's
this
think
is-
about,
my hardest thing with that was where to start my letters, because with my dominant hand, I know what to do.
yep,
I got better on my second line because I started just tracing basically in my brain, but at the beginning I was starting where I wanted to, but it was very difficult. So this leads me to wonder how difficult it is for my little left-handed boy when I keep saying to start your letter here. Now I want to know where he actually should start it. Yeah.
left-handed, from my understanding, left-handed kids write them exactly the same. But
Okay.
what you're missing, what a good point is, we all had to stop and think about the motion path of writing the letter, because it's not natural with your non-dominant hand. So you had to think about every stroke.
I did. Yeah.
Preschoolers and kindergartners have to think about every stroke. So whether non-dominant or not, the process you just went through is how it feels for them, because they don't know, it's not mastered, they don't have experience, right? And it was frustrating for you because you do on the other side of your body. It's so much of handwriting and fluent writing is based on you having mastered that letter path, the motion path. What I wanted to point out, and most of you did, by the way, good job. You are brilliant writers. I didn't give you anything to copy from, right? You didn't have anything to look at as far as the sentence. You had to use your non-dominant hand. You had to think about everything, not just the motor path, but phonics, spelling. You had to remember the sentence. And I did give you a graphic. Some of you might have known what we were going to write before I said it. But this experience is similar to how it feels for children to write. Even first, second, and third graders, the process is so cumbersome to bring all of that together. So when we're struggling through writing with our students, remember, my kids' leprechauns and well practiced. But now think of this experience. Now, what if I had asked you to write that in Spanish? Or what if I had asked you to write it in Chinese, which is not alphabetic? We take for granted everything that we've mastered and know how to do. And we really can forget of what we are truly asking kids to do cognitively and motor wise when we're learning all this. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to go real fast. I'm going to share the slides with you. Drawing and writing are deeply connected. You go through the same process of thinking and planning when you're going to draw something as you are when you're going to write something. Okay? Here are the key connections. You can read them for yourself. But planning and organization happens in both. This is a key thing, because once they get all the alphabet letters and they have all the sounds, Writing, not handwriting, requires planning and organization. That's just, I wanted to point that out. Expression and communication. These are pictures that students drew that obviously have a message. It's not just it's not coloring or anything. They're telling a story with these pictures. The student with the people, they had to plan what color am I going to make these? Is it a boy or a girl, right? They're drawing, there's obviously 2 boys and 2 girls, and then their colors and all that. There was a lot of planning involved in that, gathering materials. Their clouds are adorable. Their house might be on fire. We don't know. This one over here, I need to know more about. Do you ever see a drawing and be like, I have questions? Did the same student that drew all of this also draw this person? It possibly. And how was the student feeling? Why did scribbles get put over top of that? It could be some nothing to worry about, but it could be something we should question. So long before kids can form letters, children use drawing to express their ideas. And their feelings. And when we recognize their drawings as a form of communication, which is called pictorial writing, I found in my planning time, this helps build their confidence as text creators. And that's an interesting way to say writers. I have let me see if I can copy this from here. I can't. I have lots of links for you on a page that I'll share when we're finished. Look at these beginning, middle, end. Claire, this is a huge component in English language arts. But the kids didn't really have to write anything necessarily. They were just telling a story with drawing pictures of the beginning, the middle, and the end of a story. The one in the middle could be preschool. It's more likely kindergarten, but there is a possibility that's a preschooler. They have very specific names for different types of pencil grip. We hope we're going to get a kid to a tripod. But that lateral tripod, the thumb comes over it a little bit. It's actually resting on the index finger. That's not too bad, but usually they slip to the lateral quadrupod at the end. Like you've all had a kid whose thumb is like all the way around their index finger, and they're going to say their hand is tired long before kids who are using a better functional grasp. This is a good picture of what's typical. If you'll, like I said, you'll get the slides so you can examine that further. Symbolic thinking. Through drawing, children learn that marks on a page can symbolize real world objects or abstract ideas. Like an arrow can mean go this way. A heart can mean love. This is a critical thinking, a critical step in understanding that written letters are also symbols representing sounds and words. If you see down here in the left-hand corner, this was my daughter. She was 4. It was probably October or November, preschool. She's starting to, really pick up on letters. And she knew that Dad's name is Tracy. She knew that to T, and that Dad was a D. He told her no for something, and she's a princess. She wrote him back a note letting him know that he had broken her heart. That's still communication. I'm not sure what this says, but is something about for me. I would definitely ask the child what it was that he wrote and tell me about the picture. If you're familiar with Handwriting Without Tears at all, especially the 4-year-old program, part of your awareness of space and yourself in it is understanding that a person has a body and a head. But almost all children start with arms and legs coming out of the head. But as they begin to understand, oh, we all have a body because it holds our heart, our tummy, our lungs, and that kind of thing, then you start to see more like over here, it definitely has a body. Up here, it looks like it's a school bus. They did draw a stop sign, STAP, good enough for me. This is probably the school. It's sunny. Kids are drawing things. Okay, what's our time? I'm going to have to skip through to get to a couple of important things at the end. Just kind of some talking points. Always say, tell me about your picture, or what do you want it to say? Instead of saying, what is that? Because you're going to offend them, right? They're going to say, well, obviously it's a cucumber, or obviously that's, some whatever that you would not have imagined. Be gentle in your questioning. Let's see. Keep going. There's Matman. There's actual lessons that take the kids through learning how to draw a person with all there's fingers, hands, feet. And so this is just when we said draw a person in September, the student probably drew this, but after the lesson, their people started to look like this. And it uses the same tools that they learned to build letters with. For drawing, this is an appropriate anchor chart to have in your classroom, but you'd want to make it with them. Otherwise, they don't really understand why it's there or what it can help them with. And you can have the same idea when it gets to writing. Do we have finger spaces? Do we have capitals where they go? And that kind of thing. I did this with my kindergartners in September. Not because I think it is so important that kids color inside of the line, but when they have this guidance, they become much more aware of their purpose and what things look like in the environment. If you want to have a blue tree, that's just fine. But you get the point of why we might do something like this. It reminds them to pay attention and do their best. Okay. Skipping. When teaching handwriting, it will have a much higher effect on outcomes in your building if all of you teach handwriting the same way. Okay? Letters start at the top, continuous strokes whenever possible. And they don't need lined paper to start. Like that's when we're actually doing a writing activity, they're going to have a sentence, that kind of thing. But they don't always have to have lined papers. Preschool kids don't need a lined paper. It's not even that necessary till about halfway through kindergarten. Legibility, proper spacing, letters should not touch. These are just, again, some tips that you can do in your classroom to help kids support good letter formation and writing. finger spaces. You've seen spaceman, that kind of thing. Spaghetti is in meatballs. I'm going to go on. You'll be able to see this in the slide. Another tip, tape a garage on their desk so that when they are using a paper, you can have them, they know how to situate the paper in front of them. So you make like a 90-degree angle and you park the corner of the paper in there, and that's where it stays while you're writing. These are going to be links you can follow for, these are 2 great articles. Okay, this is where we're going to analyze student samples. If you have to go, I understand, but I will stay on and go through a couple of these. Let me take 1 minute to put the feedback form in though, so if you have to leave, you can do that. Okay, there's the feedback. And here are the links for that I put together, just some places you might want to go to explore this further. Back to the presentation, share. Okay. I put this graphic up so we could have something to reference. Looking at this example, where do you think the student is that drew this red and green picture? You can come off mute and
Pre-K.
pre-K. Well, like a stage. Is it scribbling or
Oh,
pre-symbolic?
I'm thinking in the scribbling stage.
I'm thinking pre-symbolic.
It could be in
was
between
going with
there.
letter-like forms.
I didn't catch any letter-like forms, and it doesn't mean they're not there. They're mostly curved lines. There's lots of dots in here. This could be a ladybug. I would say it's exiting scribbling stage to pre-symbolic, but we don't know for sure. How about this one?
Transitional stage?
That's what I would have said. They're obviously letters and they're made correctly, so it can't be letter-like form stage. But it doesn't say anything. So it's just beginning transitional stage. How about this one?
I'm thinking going from like the end of letter-like forms to transitional.
Mm-hmm.
I said the same. However, there's 4 words there. It's Mom, Dad, Aaron, and Kelly. Don't know what the Q's there for. It might be supposed to be a Y. So,
wow.
And that line that goes across the top, that could be her way of trying to connect that
Yeah.
Y.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's a Q, it's an A, just like in dad. It's Kella.
Oh, okay. That's right. Good.
Good.
Good note.
I have one question.
Yeah.
When do you feel that you will start seeing a kid showing dyslexia?
Well, you can screen for dyslexia at 3.5 years old. So kids can red flag, but one red flag doesn't mean dyslexia. So I don't really know. I don't feel qualified to give an answer to your question, Sherry, but if you go back and look at in our YouTube channel for the early learning series, we did a session on dyslexia, and there's some really good information in there that will help you with that. Do you know how to find that, Sherry? We'll put a link in. Maybe can you grab that? Yeah. This one is definitely transitional stage. They've got the letters down. We don't really know if they're trying to spell, but it's definitely not conventional. Thoughts on this one?
Conventional? Because there's words coming up in there.
Yeah, I think it's I wouldn't call it conventional yet, but it's moving out of transitional for sure. There's the word.
Most.
Most for me, I think is the last part.
And
But
I see wait for me, and he's yelling dad, like wait for me.
oh, Dad,
Oh,
wait for me. Oh, good for you. Um, I still think because there's a lot of vowels missing that we would not call that conventional yet. But this kid, I hope, keeps writing. I think we looked at this one before. This is conventional. There's definitely some letter reversals to deal with. How about that?
very quiet cricket. I would think conventional. The bottom of it's different, but the top is.
Well, the teacher wrote those. The very quiet cricket.
She did a
Ben,
good job.
cricket, apple, the butterfly, the teacher wrote those. So it's actually letter-like forms. Not all of those forms at the bottom are actual letters. But again, I kind of would have to know the student. It's definitely not conventional. The teacher's is.
Mm-hmm.
There's some tough ones for you.
Letter-like forms, because they're getting to the point of letters, and the top one kind of looks like it would be that letter string, but it's not words.
Yeah, they
real
have
letters yet.
They have a couple. Letter-like forms is probably good. They probably are just moving in there though, because this one at the bottom, I would say that's pre-symbolic, even though it's like the letter C over and over and over again. And up at the top, one thing we can say is they're moving from left to right. The scribble or the wavy line is pre-symbolic, but then there are letter-like forms as well. No student is going to be firmly in one of these stages or the other. But understanding where they really are helps you know how to move them. This is my favorite. This is the beginning, middle, and end of year. Probably preschool. Because they're all capital, is why I say that. But they were left to right in the beginning, and they might not have taken this first sample till Christmas. It's possible this is kindergarten, but I worry if it is because they only know capital letters. But look at the middle and then the one at the bottom and look at the 8. They had no numbers at the beginning, and then they're making that 8 correctly, one stroke around the tree. Not around the tree. I forget how you say the 8 one.
Make an S and close
Make an
the
S,
gate.
but just you.
Make an S and close the gate. That's the way we make an 8.
I noticed the M's. The M's totally transitioned by the end of the year.
Yep.
And they even got a lowercase m. Yeah.
Yep. P, Q. Yeah, so if the minimum of what we can hope for is that a student gets a year of learning and growing, and this is very much shows that. Obviously, instruction and practice opportunities were there for this child. Stuck to the line. True, Tiana. Yep. Everything's on the line for the most part. They're probably getting tired by 7. We already kind of looked at this, but I think I have it here just to. What would you look at this and what would be your plan of action next for this student?
We would start working on spelling.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is a content area writing, like they're learning about science and writing about it, right? So a lot of those words should have been available for them to find. It doesn't mean they'll go and look, but the other thing I would say about this is we have to talk about sentences. This is definitely a run-on sentence. Maybe I am traveling in a rocket ship, period. Then we could say the next thing. If you're there, you're not covering that in preschool right now. But so punctuation, that kind of thing. This is just funny. Who would like to take a stab at reading this?
I've got I was bashing my, and I don't get the last
teeth.
part.
I got, I was brushing my teeth.
Oh.
Yeah.
A spider came into my
Mouth.
mouth, and I spit it in the spider out. Gross.
Yeah. Like, you just got some good writing out of this kid. Brushing my teeth. And a lot of kids say it like that. So that's how they're going to write it. And if it's kindergarten, they don't learn SHTHWH till later in the year. And probably aren't you ready to use it in their writing for how much they get of it before they go to first grade. There's Dad the carpenter. Those are nails. You've seen the one probably online of the mom who sells snow shovels at Lowe's. Okay. So for the next time, come to us with what you're doing for writing. It doesn't have to be for the month of December. It can be January. But if you're doing some cool stuff, come back and share it with us. If you have lesson plans or activities that you're willing to share, bring it, and we're going to have sort of a flea market, if you will. But I want you to think about these things. How are you incorporating handwriting? How will you incorporate writing? How can you bring it all together? You do not need to submit a lesson plan to me. It's not that. But I want you to think about these things and come back with something to share. And whatever you have is worth sharing, I promise. I, in December, always did, I didn't do it the first week, but I have always, with kindergartners, done a gingerbread unit. And everything we did had to do with gingerbread. What I never did, and I was looking back at this, was talk about soft G. Why? I probably thought they weren't ready to handle it. They just learned hard G. But why not? Why not? They don't need to learn the rule of when you use it, but they can unlock this magic that G has two sounds. And when they get older, they're going to be able to do so many things with this knowledge. Does everybody know what they're doing in 2 weeks? We're going to come back and have a discussion. Okay. These are some links and some people to look up if you want to know more about writing. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are my favorite people to go to. William Van Cleve has a lot out there. He's passed away, but his work is still out there. And I have always said, if you really want to know how to teach something, spend some time with a quality intervention program. And there's something out there called Writing Matters, and that comes from William Van Cleve. It may not help you as a preschool or even a kindergarten teacher, but it is really good about breaking down the most simplest sentence level writing and where kids need to go with it. If it's something that you can afford just because you want to learn more, I highly recommend it. If you can't, also understand. Steve Graham has a great article on reading rockets, and you can find that in the link. Any website for occupational therapists, they don't own the information. You can have it too. I think you all know how to get a hold of me. Be patient with yourself and your students and your colleagues. It's December. Everybody's tired. There's a lot going on. There is a triple the amount of sugar in their diets. And that is the end.
Okay.
Hopefully you grabbed the feedback and the other link. I will